October 2nd, 2019, and we've just come out of in camera, so we're resuming the public portion at 7:07 PM. And at this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda. Are there any emergent items from any of the councillors tonight? And are there any from Councillor Peterson, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. Not emergent item, just I have a statement to read into the record from Councillor Cox under council statements, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sawatsky. Oh, sorry, Councillor Sobel.
I think, Your Worship, I'll raise 11.1, which has been kindly added by our, by Executive, by Jen, as an emergent item, and I'd like Council's support in bringing this matter forward. It's a matter that deals with potential health issue, and I'll certainly explain to it more, but I'd appreciate the opportunity to speak to that today.
Thank you for that. Jennifer.
Thank you, Worship. There's just a number of items that have been distributed to council at your desk. And they are, we have item 8.2, the HEAL Coalition Sustainability Conversation, 9.2, a notice of motion regarding Airbnbs, and then 3 administrative inquiry responses, 13.1 dandelions, 13.2 highway signage, and 13.3 hi-ho pipes.
Thank you very much. So hearing those, I'm looking for a motion to adopt or confirm the agenda as amended. Councillor Corbeil.
I move I confirm the agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. You've all heard that motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. I believe we do not have any presentations or recognitions, and we do not have any delegations. So that moves us to item 5, confirmation of minutes. 5.1, the confirmation of the September 18th, 2019 regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Peterson.
I would so move the September 18th regular council meeting minutes, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. We have no tabled items, so we move to item 7, 7.1, RCMP update for October 2019. And welcome, we have our new staff sergeant here. And if you wouldn't mind when you come to the microphone, just introduce yourself. Thank you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, we're good. Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. My name is Sergeant Suk Randhava. I'm the interim detachment commander here at Strathmore. I have moved from Okotoks to take this spot till the time the new detachment commander arrives. I'm with the RCMP for 20 years, and I've been around the block a few times. For the stats, I think I did submit some to Mr. West here in terms of second quarter stats, but following that, I also had some update regarding the month of July, August, and September, which is our third quarter. I'm not too sure what you have in front of you. Is that the second quarter or is the third quarter? I think you have second quarter, I believe. You just wanted me to go over with the second quarter, or I can start from second quarter and lead on to the third quarter, because I just received some stats about a few days ago, and I'd like to speak to that as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
That'd be great. Okay, let's begin with for the month of April, May, and June of 2019. The second quarter stats were overall very positive for April, May, and June 2019. Personal crimes were down by 16% from last year and overall down by 37% on the 5-year average. For the property crime, which includes break-in enters, theft over 5,000, theft from motor vehicles, theft from motor vehicles, possession of stolen property, all trended downwards for quarter 2 as compared to last year. We had 114 property crime calls for service, which were in 35% decline from 37% over 5 year. Total other criminal code calls for service, which includes weapon offenses, disturbing of peace, and other criminal code offenses, remained at 17% low for this quarter. And last year, it was as compared to last year, and 23% down on a 5-year average. Total reported drug calls were down by 50% as compared to last year, and 86% as compared to second quarter on a 5-year average. Our total municipal calls for service were up by 2% in second quarter, and overall 9% decrease in the second quarter on a 5-year average. Motor vehicle collision decreased by 18% as compared to last year, and 11% decrease on a 5-year average. So as you can see, the total trend of crimes is going down for the second quarter. Now, as compared from second quarter moving on to the third quarter, for the month of July, August, and September, the trend is quite similar. The property crime also went down from 38% to 23% on an average of 5 years. Total other criminal court calls decreased by 22% as compared to last quarter, and overall 9% lower on an average on a 5-year average. Total reported drug crimes, which consist of possession for the purpose of trafficking, including productions, also went down to 73% as compared to last year, and overall 83% decrease on a 5-year. Our total municipal bylaw calls for service were also down by 5% in the third quarter, and an overall down of 9% on average 5 years. Motor vehicle collisions decreased by 12% as compared to last year quarter, and an overall 15% decrease on a 5-year average. The only thing that increased was persons crime, which went up by 5% from last year. However, it must be noted that there was an overall decline of 2% on a 5-year average on the third quarter. Our annual performance plan for the detachment, there were 3 priorities that we focused on. Number 1 was police visibility. Number 2 was crime reduction. And number 3 is employee wellness. For all these 3, we're meeting our objectives. We're also met our objectives and goals for quarter and are on track for our APP for this year. We continue to provide community safety through enhanced community visibility and other initiatives. Southern Alberta District has recognized that our annual performance plan is on track. As far as the detachment community involvement is concerned, what I have observed in 1 month of me being here, we are a part of a big team. We have shown our presence during check stops, school zone patrols, school events, social events, meet and greets, and via enhanced policing in our community. We're looking forward for a few more members to join our team. They should be coming here very soon. We're currently well-staffed, and our detachment position is very, very well as compared to health and a healthy working environment. That's the overall of what I observed in 1 month here. I'll take your questions now.
Thank you very much for your update, and I'll go to council if they have questions for you. Councillor Sobel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sergeant. It's good news on the statistical end of things. I guess I just have one area that I want to ask you about, and that is, 100 years ago when I was a policeman, the focus was on, when we talked about drugs, we talked about cocaine and cannabis, and those days are gone. It was a very sad event that occurred in our neighborhood where we had the 3 youngsters overdosing on opioids and one of them very sadly passing away. So is there any comment that you want to make in regards to what the RCMP might be able to do to assist our community in maybe understanding the dangers, the very serious dangers of this? We're just looking for, I guess, a path through to trying to ensure that this does not happen again.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Councillor Sobel. That's a very good question. I totally understand, and everybody here will agree with me that our youth is our future. We have to engage in our youth more often. One of the things that I will propose, and I'm quite proponent of, is a school resource program in the community. We don't have it here. We have talked about it. We have tossed the idea in our detachment as well. There are a lot of benefits of having a school resource officer position here in Strathmore. It'll give the consistency. It'll also give the attachment and the connection that school needs with the police. One of the biggest role of the school resource officer will also be to go to the schools and talk to youth about drug abuse and drug use. I believe that the council should consider this program down the road. I have some stats that I can share that with you. I'll leave a business case with you to consider. We need to educate youth. We can do it via radio talks. We can do it via newspaper articles. We can go out and try to engage youth more into discussions with the police. I believe there's a phobia out there. The police is out there. Whenever the police is out at school, something has gone wrong, but we don't want to put that message across. We want to make sure that youth are very comfortable and feel very comfortable coming and talking to us about their issues, specifically about drug use. I can assure council what I have seen here in the last 1 month is that Strathmore does not have a drug issue. No, this is a one-off incident that happened with a not very favorable outcome. But whatever we can do, we should do to engage youth more with the police.
Thank you. So I'm glad you brought up the resource officer, because I know how successful that program has been in other jurisdictions. But my question would be, do you foresee this being one resource officer for our schools in totality, or are you suggesting resource officer per school?
I am suggesting there are 10 schools in Strathmore. I'm suggesting one school resource officer for all 10 schools.
Thank you. Sorry, Jay. I've been looking forward to that information.
Sure,
and,
I have it here. I can give it to you right now.
Yeah, if you could just pass it on to Jay, and she'll make sure we get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel. Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for coming in, Sergeant, and I apologize for the confusion earlier today. And,
You just buy me coffee next time.
yeah, that was totally my fault. So, one question I have is just to do with the statistics with regards to like drugs, and that is given that like cannabis is now legal, how much I guess how much does that influence the stats kind of being down? And if you took out, let's say, cannabis for the last 5 years, like are all drugs in the community going down, or is that mainly just from cannabis being legalized?
The stats specifically talks about all drugs, which includes cannabis, which includes hard drugs like cocaine, meth, oxy, fentanyl, and so on and so forth. Right? It contains the combination of all drugs. We thought that when marijuana will get legalized, the RCMP is going to get more busier, we're going to get more calls, so on and so forth. But we haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in Okotoks where I was before. I haven't seen that here in Strathmore. Again, I don't encourage youth to get involved in marijuana because if they're out there experimenting with this and so on and so forth, that leads to many other things. But again, we have to educate youth in terms of this is how you start. Once you start marijuana, then you want to try something different. But I don't see that an issue here. Overall, I haven't seen an issue with marijuana.
So I guess but just to be clear, so if we removed cannabis from the picture altogether from these stats, would our overall drug, let's say, issue in town be going down as per these stats?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Montgomery. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Sergeant Rendell. The only question I have was I was asked by the director of the Strathmore Overnight Shelter if you could set up a meeting, and I know that you would, and I should have certainly called you outside of council hours, but the overnight shelter has been incredibly encouraged by the support from our local RCMP, and I think they've have a really good partnership. But they're anxious to meet you.
I'll be honored to have the meeting,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And I just want to pass on from that group their thanks for the support and the really good safety net that the local RCMP have provided. Very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. I just had one thing, and that's, it's timely that you're reporting. I got a call today, a fairly heated call, and some concerns about crime that's occurring in the industrial section on the south side of TransCanada. So the question was, is there a chance to get more RCMP patrols in the late hours, like between midnight and 3? They're finding, this gentleman was talking with other businesses and saying that there's been break-ins. People are punching in the door locks on vehicles to get into the vehicles, and it's become really problematic for them. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you, Your Worship, for this question. What Jay and I did, since we got that request from you to look into this, we pull up some stats. I believe you're talking about the owner of the meat shop or meat plant.
And there were other businesses as well.
Exactly.
Cities where they contacted.
Sure. So from April to this time, we have pulled the stats out, and on 23rd Spruce Park Drive, I believe that's where the business is, Jay?
I just pulled the stats for Spruce Park Drive
Okay.
and I think Orchard Way.
Okay. Cool. So we only had 3 B&E calls, and there was 1 mischief call since April on that road. Looking at Orchard Way in Strathmore, we only had 3 B&E calls since April. So I do recognize that there have been some break and enters, but the results of the investigations have been there haven't been enough evidence to proceed with the investigation. I understand the question was also proposed that should there be better lighting in that area. I totally agree with that. Yeah, there should be a lighting. Our members are out about. They are doing investigations. That area is quite known to the police, and I have observed and talking to Jay that we have made frequent patrols in that area from time to time. It is unfortunate that when crime happens, we're not there.
If I could just jump in, when you say that there is a need for more lighting, are you thinking in terms that the owners' buildings themselves should be lit up more?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
That'll be the first step in order for them to help themselves in terms of bringing down the crime or giving them the opportunity of crime to these culprits.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from council? Councillor Sobel.
Just further to that, Your Worship, is there an opportunity to do some proactive contact with those businessmen and emphasize the benefits of lighting their establishments up, their businesses? I know that some have spent money on security, but you always want to make sure that it's dollars well spent, and I don't think businessmen always realize the benefit of a lighted area. I know that. I mean, sometimes all that does is make it easier for the criminal to see what he's stealing, but the fact is, most criminals would prefer a non-lighted area. It just makes sense. And is there any indication that? And the second question, or my second part was, is there any indication that that those break-in enters were from outside of town, were from an organized group, or would you have any idea?
Let me answer your first question is that, for members, when they respond to calls like this, the following day when there's a follow-up with the business owner and so on and so forth, a number of things are discussed. I do believe that there has been discussion in terms of putting some lights out and keeping the business lit up at night so that it's more visible and so on and so forth. We can also reiterate that with the members again when they respond to these calls. We can also talk to the members to make more frequent patrols in that area, but making patrols always is not the answer to the problem. We'll do whatever we can, we assure you that. We'll also encourage business owners to put the lightings out and so on and so forth. As far as your second question is concerned, Councillor Sobel, I don't believe that there's an organized crime group here in Strathmore. I don't believe that. If there was an organized crime group operating, it'll be in the rural area mostly, not in the town itself. Areas which are in close proximity to Calgary, where they come in, steal property and go back into Calgary. I think Strathmore is a little bit further away from Calgary. I don't see that a problem here at all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Trent, did you want to jump in?
I would like to have an opportunity, Your Worship, please, and Council. I believe that this is an opportunity, and I'm reaching out for more work here, but I believe this is an opportunity for municipal enforcement. They've been making interactions with the businesses to talk about other matters, and I think that if I remember correctly, going over Mike's CV, this was an area of his specialization that he worked with businesses to demonstrate or to provide them with advice on how to protect the exterior of their property. And I also know that the senior peace officer out in the county is also skilled in that area. So I think that this might be an opportunity for municipal enforcement in the town of Strathmore to be able to demonstrate support to business by allowing us an opportunity to do some work and then get engaged with the businesses and provide them with the advice and the things that we've found from spending a little bit of time.
Would you foresee calling a meeting of the business people, the owners, to meet with Michael and yourself, for example, almost as a way to deal with all the owners in one time, in one setting?
I think that's Your Worship and Council, I think that's an excellent startup or kickoff to be able to make sure that we have an idea of everything that we're looking at and not just do one footprint at a time, because solutions might be applicable across the business park.
I like that. I think that's great. And if you do, or if you're able to organize that meeting, I'd love it if you could let us know, and anyone from council and myself would love to be there if we can make it. Some of us will try to fit it into our schedules if we're able to.
I promise, Your Worship and Council, we can do that, and we'll work directly with the members on this initiative as well.
Good. Thank you very much. And thank you for your update and report tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This brings us to item 8, committee reports. 8.1, reports from councillors from committees on which they sit. Do we have anything?
Deciding starting on.
I'll start with you, Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Strathmore Overnight Shelter, a very quick report. They are requesting for volunteers, so anybody that has access to social media, please articulate that. Volunteers can also receive training at no cost. We're also looking for applications for board members. The Marigold Library is seeking out consultation initiative with Siksika for increased library services, and Michelle Toombs plans on reporting to the joint Siksika Strathmore Councils Committee to seek input on that initiative, which will hopefully happen at our next meeting. Wheatland Housing Management Board, the council and county delegates had a meeting with the minister a week ago regarding seniors housing, and Minister Pon was receptive and encouraging, and while certainly no promises have been made in this pre-budget time, the building committee will certainly keep moving forward. Post the meeting with Minister Pon, we did receive a letter from the minister's office that largely articulated support for the business plan that was submitted and gave some suggestions to the committee around carrying out a SWOT analysis relevant to the ongoing business plan process, and already knew that, and so this council and this committee very, very fortunate to have the support of Doug Legore and staff at the Wheatland Housing to carry that out. So those are my reports, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Deputy Mayor Montgomery?
Yeah, so I'm on the Strathmore Handy Bus Association Board, and I just wanted to let people know that we had a casino fundraiser last Sunday and Monday that was staffed by volunteers from our community. And I just wanted to personally thank, and on behalf of the Strathmore Handy Bus clientele and the Strathmore Handy Bus Board, thank all the volunteers that came out and put in their time, sometimes at very odd hours. And it will certainly help the Strathmore Handy Bus be viable and sustainable into the future. And I wanted to personally thank Councillor Peterson, who volunteered and put in her time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Montgomery, and thank you, Council Peterson, for being at that casino and putting in that valuable time. Much appreciated. We move on to 8.2. Do you need to accept these? A motion to accept? Oh, thank you. Councillor Corbeil.
I move we accept the reports for information.
Thank you very much, Councillor Corbeil. You've heard the motion. All in favor? And that motion is carried. 8.2, HEAL Coalition Sustainability Conversation. I believe that's Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. So in your, I won't belabor this, in your report, there is a synopsis of the work that the Strathmore Healthy Eating and Living Coalition did within our community. I think that this coalition has done a lot to enhance healthy living in this community. And one of the things I think that they've done most recently are the signs that are in community that have undergone some damage, but we're hopeful that we'll get that fixed and back up. The recommendations that are in here are largely for council suggestions, but I just wanted to give a shout out to that group. They have worked very diligently, very quietly, and earnestly on behalf of this community, and I would especially like to recognize Terry Hokinson from Alberta Health Services, and Dabin Choi, and Lisa Sater, who has been absolutely phenomenal, and all of Tracy's staff as well, and Robert Breitweiser. And I probably missed people, but they're fundamental to that group, and I just want to express my appreciation on behalf of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Any comments on that from council? No, seeing none. Item 9, items directly related to council. 9.1, the report from the AUMA minister meetings. We've done that as far as the Wheatland Housing Board. Perfect. Thank you very much. And that brings us to 10.1. Sorry, 9.2. I have it written down here. Airbnbs, thank you very much. And this is Jennifer, thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just a notice of a motion on behalf of Councillor Bauer. She submitted it through email to administration. The notice of motion will come forward to council at the next regular council meeting for discussion.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. And that brings us to item 10, bylaws. 10.1, bylaw 19-16, land use bylaw amendment, direct control for crematorium. And welcome, sorry, I didn't look up quick enough.
Awesome.
Good evening, Your Worship. My name is Renee Demolitor. I'm here this evening to present bylaw 1916 for first reading. One edit is that the newspaper advertising was not completed as indicated in your report. It will be completed, however, prior to the public hearing. As outlined in the report, a land use application has been received for 202 Lakeside Boulevard. The current land use of this parcel is Central Business District and houses an approved discretionary use of funeral services. The land use application is proposing to change the existing land use designation from central business to direct control to allow for the ancillary and discretionary use of a crematorium. A crematorium service is not currently available within the town of Strathmore or the regional area, And the Wheatland Funeral Home currently travels to and utilizes businesses within City of Calgary limits to provide cremation services. The Wheatland Funeral Home has been in business in Strathmore since 1984, and the proposed discretionary use of crematorium would be an accessory use tied to the primary use of funeral services, and would allow for a maximum of one gas-fired cremation unit. Wheatland Funeral Home is proposing to install a Pyrox cremation retort unit into their existing building adjacent to the lane. An approximate location is shown on this slide with marked with a yellow star here. The exterior changes to the building would include the addition of a roof vent stack, and I have pictures of that. A similar vent stack in following slides, and also would include a sidewall air intake next to the lane. Administration conducted a site visit to High River, Alberta, and met with the manager of planning to discuss planning and land use implications of the 2 crematoriums currently operating within downtown High River. These crematoriums are located within the Central Business District, and they're both on institutional land uses. The crematorium on the north of the map, marked with the star there, is the Snodgrass Funeral Home, and it's been in operation in this location for more than 30 years. And the south location is Lyle Reeves Funeral Home, which was approved with a crematorium and opened in December of 2018. And that's the location that we went inside. Administration also met with Craig Snodgrass, the mayor of High River, and did a tour of the Lyle Reeves Funeral Home. And then this is also an example on the right-hand side of what the cremation unit, the Pyrox X1000, actually looks like. And the bottom picture is actually the vent stack, so inside where it actually meets the vent. Crematorium is not currently a listed use under Land Use Bylaw 1411. For the purposes of this direct control, crematorium is proposed to be defined as an establishment with a maximum of 1 cremation chamber used for the reduction of the human body by heat and keeping of human bodies other than in cemeteries, related funeral services to include the preparation of the deceased, arranging and direction of funerals. The crematory regulation under the Cemeteries Act of Alberta governs the operations of crematoriums within Alberta, and licensing and review are provided by the Alberta Funeral Services Regulatory Board. This includes the provision of inspections by the director and yearly renewable licensing. Circulation of the application to the Alberta Funeral Services Regulatory Board has been conducted. A public open house was held at Wheatland Funeral Home on the evening of August 29th, 2019, and administration was present in a fact-finding capacity to answer any planning-related questions and collect feedback forms. Comments received were in support of the application. Public circulation was also conducted through the Land Use Amendment circulation process, as outlined in the Municipal Government Act. Letters to adjacent landowners within a radius of 100 meters were sent out on September 3rd, 2019 as notification of the proposal. External circulations were also sent to Alberta Health, Alberta Funeral Services Regulatory Board, Alberta Environment, and ATCO Gas for comment. Comments received from the adjacent stakeholders and properties circulated within 100 meters of 202 Lakeside Boulevard are in support of the proposal and feel the addition of a crematorium would provide an important service to the citizens in the town of Strathmore and surrounding area. The approval of the land use change would support local business and help keep business in town versus having to leave Strathmore to provide these services. Development Authority recommends that Council give first reading to Bylaw 1916, inclusion of the discretionary use, crematorium through direct control district under Land Use Bylaw 1411. For the parcel located at 202 Lakeside Boulevard, and that Council establish November 6, 2019 as the date of public hearing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Renee. Are there any questions? Councillor Peterson, comments?
I'm prepared to move the first reading, Your Worship.
Thank you.
I would move that council give first reading to bylaw number 19-16, land use bylaw amendment redesignating central business district to direct control, and that council hold a public hearing for bylaw number 19-16 on November 6th, 2019.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 11, urgent business, 11.1 sulfur. Councillor Sobel is speaking to this.
Excuse me. Thank you, Your Worship. About 48 hours ago or so, I was provided with some reliable information which alleges there is a stockpile of sulfur located approximately 10 kilometers east of Strathmore. The pile, which is estimated to be approximately 5,000 tons, is located on private land. The Alberta government's directive for monitoring the impact of sulfur dust on soils appears to limit the quantity that can be stockpiled at 100 tons without specialized monitoring and permit by Alberta Environment. It's my understanding that sulfur is relatively non-toxic, and poses little immediate health hazard to the environment or emergency response personnel unless it is involved in a fire. It is this last piece of information that is of concern to me. In view of the potential for this to become a health hazard, I am requesting our CAO commence an investigation to verify the existence of this chemical element and to determine whether a health risk exists to our community and or to our first responders in the event of a fire. And I'm ready for a motion, Your Worship, unless there's questions.
Any questions for Councillor Sobel? Then to you, Councillor Sobel.
Your Worship, I move that Council direct CAO Thackeray to initiate an investigation focused on determining the presence of abnormally high quantities of sulfur in the vicinity of our municipality and whether such quantities pose a physical or health threat to our community.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Council. Item 12, questions between councillors and council statements. 12.1, Councillor Peterson.
If you just give me 2 seconds. Your Worship, I'm reading a statement into the record from Councillor Cox, if I may. Councillor Cox was unable to be here tonight, and so she has sent this to us. Pink is the new black this month. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Alberta Health Services is offering free screening for women ages 50 to 74 at their mobile mammography trailer. The trailer is set up in the parking lot of Peavey Mart until Friday this week and Monday to Friday next week. Please call them at 1-800-667-0604 or stop by and see them. Mammograms are the most effective way to detect breast cancer. Councillor Cox says, take the advice from me. Early detection is key, and I'm proof of that. I would not be here if it wasn't for the fact that I turned 50 and had a mammogram. To help raise awareness, wear pink, ask questions, and do what you can to help find a cure. And Your Worship, I'd just like to offer our sincere good wishes to Councillor Cox, who will be running in the Cure for Cancer in the coming week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson, and we wish Councillor Cox good wishes for her run, and we're very happy to have her back with council and feeling better. So it's a great warning, a great information and message to all people out there. Thank you. And that brings us to item 13, and thank you, Councillor Sobel, you saved me there. Councillor, yeah, that's right. Item 13, administrative inquiries, Jennifer.
Thank you, Your Worship. In your package, in your addendum package, there are answers to 3 administrative inquiries. Does council want the inquiries explained, or are they okay as in the package?
Your Worship, I have 2 of those, and I'm very happy with the responses, so thank you.
Anyone else on council? Are you okay with the information provided? All right, thank you very much. Jennifer, if I can just touch back with you, do we have any more items in camera?
No, Your Worship, but I do have, a couple more comments.
Okay.
The first is, there was one more update on the admin inquiry regarding the wayfinding signs. Earlier this month, an open house was held with Michael Van Housen in regard to this topic. And there is a plan being developed right now for highway wayfinding. And that just kind of furthers the comment made by operations that they will follow up with that plan once a budget is approved for those signs. Just a little extra there. And I also have one additional administrative inquiry that was submitted this evening. And it was from Councillor Sobel. It's in regard to Park Lane Drive and a potential safety issue. It reads, as a member of the Traffic Advisory Committee, I was recently advised of a concern passed on by some residents of Lambert Village to Councillor Peterson. The issue pertains to the fence that has been erected on the north side of Kinsman Lake. This has, apparently, created some necessary detours for pedestrians wanting to use the park, and, as well, has increased the pedestrian traffic on the outside of the fencing, and at times on the roadway. Councillor Peterson has indicated she has, on a recent occasion, observed 8 adults, some with strollers, dogs, and small children, walking along the fence line. In view of this added pedestrian traffic traveling so close to the roadway, and the fact that this will be a construction zone for an extended period of time, could our bylaw or infrastructure technician, who have devised a policy that can determine the suitability for lower speed limits on town roadways, investigate this stretch of road and determine if it would warrant a lower 30 kilometer speed zone during the construction period.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Councillor Peterson.
I just, I went up there again today, and I noticed that there are tracks in the snow all the way up and down. So, and because the fence is so close to the roadway, it's worth an investigation. But thank you, Councillor Sobel, for bringing that forward. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Councillors Trent.
I think I just need a little bit of clarification. We'll complete an investigation in the area and then take the recommendation back to the Traffic Advisory Committee. That's the process?
I think back to council.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Just to advise council. Sorry, just to advise council, this isn't really a traffic advisory matter because it's more of a matter for staff who have been very good at working in this area. So,
Yeah.
although it's coming from, it's traffic related, so
Yeah.
therefore it's traffic committee related. But it's really, there's nothing that the traffic committee can do on this.
Okay, that's the clarification I needed. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you very much, Trent and Councillor Sobel. I think that's it. Councillor Corbeil.
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? And we're adjourning at 7:50.